What's up, everybody? This is Coach Cortez with Recruit University. Welcome to another edition of the Recruit University Success Series. I have a pleasure of having Mr. Todd Kelly on today from Kelly College Consulting. He's also an expert in our Facebook group. I want you guys to check that out. College recruiting advice for parents of high school student athletes. Make sure you go ahead and join that group as well. Mr. Kelly, nice to talk to you, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. So, you used to be a college basketball coach, and we talked before about all the different things that you do. You speak, and you help parents find money and scholarships for their players and stuff like that. So definitely a credible source in the field. What we really wanted to get together today to do is to talk about a few different things that we're seeing in our Facebook group, some common topics, right? Some different things. We see a lot of new parents come in and kind of ask the same questions. And the one problem that you and I both have is that sometimes the parents aren't really realistic with their goals. What do you think about this whole D1 or bust mentality?
Man, I think that's really handcuffing yourself. And because, I mean, there's so many other opportunities out here besides Division One, but, Division One is all that people see on TV. That's all that people hear about. And it's obviously, the highest level, the level with the most scholarship dollars to give, the level that typically has the biggest, best athletes. And so everyone thinks that they can play at that level. And I think a lot of, parents, student athletes, and even coaches, are unrealistic about what level student athletes can play at, and one of the things that I tell people is that, if you think you can play at a certain level, go look at what those athletes, the sizes and the measurables of those athletes. Like, for example, if you want to be a linebacker, okay, well, go look at what the height, weight, and 40 time is of linebackers at Division One. Go look at the height, weight, 40 times of linebackers at D2. And if you're not close to that, because, the average linebacker at Division One is 6'2", 225, 230, and running a 4.6. So if you're 5'11", 200, and you run a 4.8, you're not going to be a Division One linebacker, and I think a lot of people don't look at that. And this is with all sports, not just football. So, basketball, soccer, volleyball, whatever sport it is you play, look at the size and measurables and see if you match up, because I think a lot of people just say off the top of their head, oh, I'm D1 or I'm going D1 without really knowing what you have to go D1, what measurables you have to have, what has to be your physical measurements. And that's a really, really big part of it that a lot of people just kind of throw out the window.
Yeah. To me, I think there's more than just D1. There's so many different options out there. People get caught up in, I want to go to that school that they see on TV that's playing in the bowl games or an NCAA tournament. And there's so many options that when they just limit themselves to thinking, even coaches, like you said, and when I was trying to help guys get recruited, some of the coaches that I work with were like, "Oh, he's not good enough to play in college. He's not good enough." There's so many other schools. There's D2, there's D3, NAIA, there's JUCO, and it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you're a sorry player, that you're a trash player. It's just other opportunities. It's not just that one top 1%ers. You know what I'm saying? Like the top 1%ers go to D1, and then everybody else, there's other options. But I mean, like you said, if people aren't realistic, they just think that's the only, that's it. And I had players also who said that, oh, I've never heard of that school. Well, the goal is for them to hear of you, right?
Right. And I think one issue too is that while people think the D1 or bust mentality is that, I don't think people understand. A lot of people understand that, Division II, NAIA, they both give athletic scholarships. And there are a lot of student athletes that are going to Division IIs and NAIAs for free. Now, some of them may not be getting full athletic scholarships, but some of them may get, a portion of athletic scholarship, a portion of academic scholarship that equals a full ride. So a lot of people, I think, the reason they had a mentality is because they don't understand that you can get scholarships at those other levels. And then when you look at Division III, people know, that, okay, there's no scholarships at Division III. But I think what a lot of people don't understand is that there are a lot of student athletes going to Division IIIs and paying less than some athletes at Division IIs or NAIAs.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because at Division IIIs, you can get some very significant academic scholarships and very significant school-based grants. And so I think a lot of it is just a lack of education, a lack of knowledge. And that's why people are thinking D1 only, because just think about it like this. How many people just say, hey, I'm about to go watch the local NAIA team play tonight, or I'm going to go watch the local Division II team play tonight? No one's doing that. They're just going to sit on their couch, watch ESPN, which is going to play the Division I games. So I just think it needs to be more awareness, more information out there, and more people advocating for those lower levels, so to say.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, like people are going to wear the shirts and the hoodies, all the different memorabilia that can represent their D1 schools, the ones that are going to the college football playoff, the ones that's going to the March Madness, they will wear those. They're not wearing D2, D3. You're right about that. Absolutely.
Right.
And it's a lot to that too. I think I've seen a parent say something about they're going to have to hear about this from their friends where their kid didn't get into the D1 program, so they got to go D2, and that's kind of like laughed at a little bit. Uh,
Right. Right.
they got to look at that, like the social aspect of it, and you're kind of thinking about what opinion of other people. But one thing that like you just started touching on though is people are not really paying attention to the actual goal, which is to go and save money, right?
Right.
The cost, people aren't looking at the cost of going to school and
Right.
the value of going to school. It's just about wearing the colors.
Right.
So,
Right.
like you said, there's places, lots of places where they can save money, like JUCO, for instance. You can almost go for free.
Yeah. And you know what? You bring up a great point about JUCO. And I've noticed this particularly in my area where a lot of parents don't want their kids to go to JUCO because it's an ego thing. Like,
Mhm.
say, for example, if me and you and two other dads are at a party or something, right? Or just say
Yeah,
we're at a restaurant and we're
yeah,
talking or whatever, and you say, "Hey, my son's going to Rice," and another dad says, "Hey, my son's going to SMU," and another dad says, "Hey, my son's going to TCU." Well, I don't want to be that dad that says, "Oh, well, my son's going to Kilgore, or my son's going to Collin College, or my son's going to Midland." So I think it's an ego thing a lot with the parents because when they hear other parents talking about their kids are going to 4-year schools, they don't want to turn around and go, "Well, my kid's going to this JUCO." You know what I
mhm,
mean? And it's like, well, hold on. Like, if your son goes to SMU for all 4 years, and I'll go to JUCO for 2, and then come to SMU for the other 2, when we graduate, our degrees are going to look exactly the same. And I would have saved a lot more money by going to the JUCO for my first 2 years instead of going to SMU for my first 2 years. And
yeah.
it's like, I understand why people don't realize that and why it's such an ego thing, especially with the parents and, and the student athletes as well. And so, yeah, that's a really big issue too.
Yeah, it is a big issue. Kind of would take me to another topic and help me transition to another topic. People, it's all about emotion, right? They're thinking
Right,
emotionally. I want
right,
to go to this school. I don't care if it costs 80,000. They're going to get the full scholarship and they're going to go pro. That's what, like, realistically, that's what people are thinking.
right, right, right,
The way they're acting, they're not logically putting steps in place and putting plans in place in order to uh, get to the next level. Because I've talked to a lot of parents who their kids are seniors this year coming up,
right,
and I'm willing to help, but it does cost. It costs my time is valuable. It costs a fee to be able to help,
right,
and they don't want to invest money to
right,
do that, but yet they will rather try to spend more money to go to the school that they can't afford, or
right.
do all these different things like the travel ball, the uniforms, the
The trainers,
different camps and
yeah,
clinics and
right, exactly,
showcases, all these things that's not going to do anything. You're going to spend money
right,
over there because you're going to, you can see it right now, right?
right,
Investing in a recruiter or something like that, you're just hoping you don't have any control. You're just hoping they know what they're doing, and you have to
right,
sit back and be patient.
right,
Um,
right.
so tell
That's
me,
kind of
tell me about investing money into getting recruiting. Is it worth it to invest on the front end so that way you can get that scholarship or get to the right school on the back end?
well, it kind of depends on what you mean by, I think, invest. And I think what a lot of people, parents, have the wrong idea. They think, okay, since my son was 8, I've been paying for trainers. I've been paying for him to play AAU. I've been paying for him to have a weightlifting, a strength coach,
Mhm.
and so all of those investments should end up in a Division I scholarship. And I think that's what parents have the misconception that because they spend all that money, that okay, now I'm not gonna have to spend money for college when it doesn't really work like that. And what I think, to be honest with you, is that uh you know sometimes it will be worth the investment to spend and have a personal recruiting coach, because you have those organizations that you're well aware of, like an NCSA or Be Recruited.
Mhm.
And they offer obviously packages and they can help people with the recruitment, but utilizing someone like yourself, for example, will be so much better than utilizing NCSA because you are a personal recruiting coach that has been through the recruiting process hundreds of times with hundreds of different kids and families and all of that type of stuff. And so to be able to have somebody like, for example, you can't call the people at NCSA
Right.
on Sunday night and say, hey, I'm going on a visit Monday morning. Give me a list of questions I should ask the coach, or tell me what I should do. But hey, if they're utilizing you, hey, they can call you and say, hey, hey, coach, I'm going on this visit. Kind of give me some pointers. Tell me what I should do. What questions should I ask? What should I look for? What should I, you could provide that. So I think an individual recruiting coach is good sometimes.
Mhm.
And just kind of go back just a little bit. One of the things you mentioned before is like finances, right? How important that is in the college decision. Obviously, that's really important. But I think one thing a lot of people don't take into account is the experience. I think the experience is probably the most important thing when you're going to college. And what I mean by that is it's always better to go to a good D2 than a bad D1. Because would you rather go to the D1, sit on the bench and lose, or would you rather go to the D2, play a lot and win? You know what I mean? Because you're going to have a much better experience at that D2 if you're playing a lot and winning than if you're going to that D1 and sitting on the bench and losing. So I think the experience needs to be evaluated as well. But back to the current topic, yeah, the investment side of things, I think parents are just under the misconception that because we spent all this money up to this time, that now my kid's going to get a scholarship, and that's just not how it works. And so I would say to parents that it's a really good idea if you can get an individual recruiting coach that can really help you and walk you through, that you have access to, that has either coached at college or that has walked many families through the situation. I think that's a good investment.
I agree with you on that. Like you said, individual. It's not one size fits all, right? It's not one size fits all, and I don't accept everybody into our program. I mean, it's exclusive. It's got to be. We got to be able to work together. Like I got to be able to know that the parents are going to put forth their effort, the kids are going to put forth their effort, and we just got to make it work. So I don't accept everybody into the program. So I do have a 100% success rate just because I don't let everybody in. Like I said, it's not one size fits all, but some people do think, and I've heard this so many times from people outside of the recruiting side, like outside of the recruiting world, people who don't know, they'll say if they're good enough, they'll find you. Talk to me about that.
Man, no, not necessarily. Especially now, I'll say this much: if you're a blue chip high major,
Right.
then yeah, they're gonna find you. You're gonna be known. But for these kids, especially nowadays, especially current, like in 2023, with the way coaches are looking at transfers first and post grads and junior colleges, if you're a high school kid and you're not a for sure fire D1 kid, you're more of a D2 NAIA kid, they're not just going to find you. You have to be proactive. You have to take the recruiting process into your own hands. You have to make sure that you have your Twitter account updated. You have to make sure that you have your film and transcript available at all times. You got to make sure that you're emailing coaches yourself. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times coaches don't have the same budgets to travel around and just go see you play or just to go see random games. You know what I mean? And if you don't have a coach, like whether you're a high school coach or a club coach that's advocating for you, that may have relationships with coaches, then you're going to have to be aggressive when it comes to the recruiting process. You're going to have to start reaching out. You're going to have to start emailing coaches yourself. So absolutely, you need to start being proactive in the process and not just sitting back thinking, oh, I'm pretty good, they're going to find me. That it just doesn't work like that now.
Right. And that comes from, like I said, people who are not involved in the process. So people on the outside, the fan who's yelling dumb stuff at the games, who have no idea what they're talking about. They say, "Oh, they'll find you. They'll find you." If you had that mindset where you're waiting for somebody to find you, you're gonna keep waiting, and the opportunity is never gonna come. And there's people in our group right now that are still waiting and waiting, and the window's closing. Like class of 24s. Like, I mean, people are still supposed to be getting back to me. Oh, I got to talk to my spouse. My spouse says no, but you still want to get recruited, and people are getting picked. I mean, if they don't pick you, they're gonna pick somebody.
Exactly.
So, man, it's just the process is just the process. But some people just got to understand it's not on their time. And one thing that you mentioned too just now is about the finances and the budget for recruiters, right? So I got some friends who, because just because I'm in the field, I'm in the business. I got a lot of friends who are college coaches who are recruiters as well, and some of them are out there right now recruiting. It's not necessarily all about the budget either. It's also about the time, because the people who are doing the recruiting are also doing the coaching during the games.
Right.
They only have so much time in the day, so they rely on these things right here. These phones and the emails. They rely on being able to pick those up and just look at emails or Twitter or TikToks and all those different things to hopefully something to pop up to jump off the page at them. And
Right.
I know some people think, oh, you're not gonna get recruited off social media. It's 2023. You got to be
Yes,
that.
you do. Absolutely, you do. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, somebody
Yep.
said that to me, like, oh, they're not going to get recruited from a highlight video or from social media or a post or something like that. And all I could do was laugh.
Right. And you talked about the investment and whatnot as well. And like the one problem is that like every student athlete, it don't matter who you are, boy, girl, whatever sport you play, you have someone in your life, whether it's your older brother, your parent, your uncle, your aunt, a cousin that has either played sports in high school or college, or that has either been recruited to go to college, that thinks they know the college recruitment process.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I tell people is that, okay, say for example, if you're a kid and you have an uncle, and I had a kid this happened with, and the kid was like, hey, my uncle is going to help me out. He played college ball, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, how many kids does he help with the recruitment process? He's been
Right.
through it himself, and he's maybe helping you. So that's two people that he's experienced going through the recruitment process with. But say someone like yourself or me, I've helped probably 1,000 kids through the recruiting process at this point. So
Mm-hmm.
who do you think knows more and can help you more? Someone that's only helped two people, you know what I mean? Or
Mm-hmm.
someone that's helped 1,000 people and does this every single day.
And
And
how
that's
long
the
ago?
right. How long? Right. And if that person was in college 15 years ago, well, the recruitment process is totally different because it was no Twitter 15 years ago. It
Mm-hmm.
was no other social media 15 years ago. It was no transfer portal. It was no NIL. It was prep school wasn't really a big thing 15 years ago. And it was just kind of getting started then. I mean, AAU wasn't as big as it was back then. You know what I mean? So much stuff is different from 15 years ago to now. That person that's giving you the advice is giving you outdated advice, and they're giving you guesses and speculation instead of working someone like yourself who's in it every day. Like you just said, you talk to college coaches every single day. You know what I mean? You probably talk to parents of student athletes every single day. You know what I mean? So like, and me the same way. So it's like, why would you deal with someone that doesn't know, whether dealing with someone that's had 20 years of experience and been doing it every single day for the last 20 years? That just doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm. It don't make sense to me either. And it's funny, man. It just seems like it's a recurring thing that keeps happening. Like we keep touching on these same topics over and over and over again. So we wanted to put this together so we can put it out there to the people, so we don't have to keep repeating ourselves over and over again, saying the same
Right.
exact thing. You mentioned AAU.
Right.
AAU is I mean, the travel ball can be a good thing. Number one, I say the high school film is the best, but the coaches there doesn't necessarily just because your coach is a high school coach doesn't necessarily mean they have contacts to college coaches or they're the end all be all. So I've had it several times where the high school coach didn't necessarily believe in their player and wasn't really willing to help them. In fact, kind of did the opposite. I've had a player where I helped them get opportunities to try out for a college basketball team at a camp, and then the coach. I mean, they called to talk to the coach, and the coach had nothing but negative things to say about the kid. Not about his character. Nothing was wrong with his character. They were saying, "Oh, he doesn't even start for me. He doesn't even play for me. He's a bench warmer." But that was, reverse effects of what we were trying to do. You're trying to help the kid get to college. If he's not good enough, I want the college coach to say that. The high school coach should not be saying the kid's not good. Let's go and see what they say. They might like him. So you saying, "Well, he doesn't even start for me," is that was negative. That was bad. So we didn't get a good trial. They didn't take him just because it's what he was saying. So in that case, we had to depend upon AAU just so we could get good film and send that out because the high school coach wasn't playing him. I went to the games. I'm like, why is this kid not playing? Because I personally seen him work out, personally seen him go to the trainers. I seen him play. I thought he was talented enough, and I sent film out. Colleges thought he was talented enough, but he wasn't talented enough to play for his own high school. So we had, in that case, had to go get some AAU film, which worked out. And with the AAU film, I was able to get him into school. But it's crazy to me that you're a high school coach, and there's people out there like that who will kind of like sabotage. We had to happen with a couple football players. The coach was pissed. He was pissed that I was helping this kid. He played both ways for him on the offense and defense. He was an all-state player, but he was on the phone with me, yelling at me, talking about, I got friends in college. They say he's not good enough. Why are you mad at me because I'm helping somebody? So parents out there, you have to understand who really has your kid's best interests at heart. Okay, so telling somebody they're not good enough is never going to be somebody that has your best interest. Never. Um, but there's being realistic, and then there's being, I don't even know what the word is, but sabotage. There's two different things. I don't think that the high school coach has any place to say the kid's not good enough. I think we can go ahead and just send that tape over to the college coach. They say, "Oh no, okay," because you know what else? If one coach says no, there's another one that's going to say yes, and that's
Right.
what I like to do. I like to play the numbers, and I'll look at his film and I'll tell the kid, "Okay, he might need to work on this. He might not be fast enough for that," but I'm never going to say, "Oh, you're not good enough." I'm going to tell you what you need to work on. That's just my the way I do it. What do you think about travel ball? What are some things that you've seen? Because there's good and there's bad in both of them.
Absolutely. And I've experienced travel ball in all sports, whether it's volleyball, soccer. And one thing that I don't like at all, that there have been a lot of travel coaches recently, not necessarily in like basketball, but more so in like volleyball, soccer, those sports where the travel coaches are telling the student athlete, hey, don't play for your school team.
Yes. Hmm.
You're only going to get recruited here. And
Oh
my
yes.
advice to any parent and student athlete is, if you have the resources available, because I know travel sports can be expensive, so if you have the resources available, play both. Play on your high school team and play on your club or travel team, because now you have two different coaches that can advocate for you.
Right.
Have two different sets of film. You know what I mean? Because you got your travel film and your high school film, and you probably are playing two different roles on those teams. So now the college coaches can see you in two different roles. You may play point guard on your travel team. You may play the two guard on your high school team. You know what I mean? So now coaches can see you in both. And then also now that's two chances to improve, because
Mhm.
when every time you play, you're getting better and you're improving. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of positives to travel in AAU and whatnot, but I think that you need to pick the right team. And that's the big problem. If you're going to play travel or club or AAU, you just need to pick the right team. You need to pick a team where, number one, the coach is knowledgeable about the game, and then knowledgeable about the recruitment process. You need to make sure you have a coach that has sent kids to college before. So if you're going to play on the team, ask that coach, hey, your kids that graduated in class of 23 and the kids that graduated in 22 and the kids that graduated in 21, what colleges did they go to? You know what I mean? What are they doing right now? You know what I
Right.
mean?
That's
What
great.
tournaments are we going to be playing in? Are we sponsored by anybody? What does that sponsorship cover? You know what I mean? These are all questions you need to ask that coach, and then ask the coach too, what level do you think my son or daughter is? Can
Mhm.
you help them? Do you know coaches at that level? So if the coach says, hey, I think your son's a Division II level player. Okay. Do you know any Division II level coaches that you can reach out to help my son get recruited? These are
Mhm.
all questions that need to be asked, because my general philosophy about travel and club ball is, if you play on the wrong team, it can be a complete waste of time and money.
Waste of
But
time.
if you play on the right team, it can really help your recruitment, and it can really help you improve as a player. So the thing that I would say is, just if you're going to play travel or club, pick the right team. And if you play on the right team, it can be good. But if you pick the wrong team, just know it's going to be a complete waste of time and money.
Yeah, and that's what pretty much I think what scares a lot of people from getting a recruiting coach. You're investing in both of those. You're investing in your travel team, investing in recruiting coach. You're investing in your high school. You're investing in sports training. You're investing in all those different things. Um, so they're fearful that they are going to waste their time. Is this
Right.
one thing?
Right.
But if you go on your own, without somebody who's knowledgeable and been around, because the mistakes I made when I first started, that's the reason why I started this business or was able to start, because I started making mistakes and then I knew what not to do. I thought you had
Right.
to go to every combine and every camp, and a lot of those combines and camps are just money grabs.
Absolutely.
So I mean, if you had somebody in your corner who's done this before and done it for a living, then you would know which camps not to put money in and what combines not to put money in. Because what really gets people is, oh, now they calling people all Americans. Let's come to this all American camp.
Right.
It's just a marketing program.
Exactly. To make you
It's
feel
a,
important.
yeah, make you feel like, oh, my son's an all American or my daughter's all Americans because I went to all American camp, and you pay a certain fee to go, and yeah, you get to travel and go somewhere. And there's gonna be people from everywhere, but there's really no qualifications other than paying the fee to be able to participate in this program. It's not
Right. Right.
really They don't really ask you for your stats or any performance, nothing like that. You just have to pay money and you get to go to the
Yeah.
American camp.
All
And
American
then
camp.
after you go there, if you do well, we're going to call you and we're going to invite you to the elite 100. And the
Right.
best players from this camp get to pay more money and have to
Right.
travel again. And then it's all money grabs. So you just have to really be careful with that, so you don't waste the time and money. Because in that
Right.
time, you could have been going to the actual college camp and getting in front of
Right.
the actual colleges. And yeah, that costs money too. But guess what?
Right.
Things cost money, right? And we have to
Right.
get over that. They just want money.
Right.
People
And
have
two
to.
things about that is like, I mean, a lot of these camps, you know, the thing is that I advise all parents, number one, know your recruiting calendar from your sport. And the
Yes.
reason I say that is because there are a lot of these camps. And I talked to a mom one time. She paid for her son to go to this camp because she was thinking that D1 coaches were going to be there. And the camp was held, this is a basketball like showcase or whatever. It was held during a dead period. So
Right.
D1 coaches couldn't even be there. So that's why I said, whatever sport it is, make sure you're aware of when the dead periods and the live periods are, and know that if you go into a camp or a showcase, ask them what coaches can be there. What coaches were there last year? What coaches do you have commitments from that are said they're going to be there this year? Because a lot of them, like you said, complete money grabs. Now, one thing I will say though, a lot of the big school camps, those can actually be somewhat beneficial. And the reason they can be beneficial is this. Say, for example, like the University of, I'll give you a good example, Michigan State, right? I used to do Michigan State's basketball camp for like 15 years. But the reason it may have been good for a kid to go to that camp was because now a lot of kids thinking, okay, I'm going to go to that camp and I'm going to get recruited by Michigan State. No, you're not going to get recruited by Michigan State. You know, don't think you're going to go to Texas camp and get recruited by Texas. But the coaches that they employed at those camps were a lot of times small college coaches. You know what I mean? Like I was a small college coach. I went to work the Michigan State camp. I saw like 3 or 4 kids in the camp that could have played for me. They couldn't play for Michigan State, but they could play for me. You know what I mean? So like sometimes going to those those large university camps, they'll have small college coaches working them, and that may be an opportunity for you to get recruited. Because you're not gonna get recruited by that large school, but you may get recruited by some of those coaches that are coaches at the camp that are coaching at some of those smaller institutions. So that can be an advantage to go on some of those school camps. But I would say like those All-American showcases, those combines and all that, 95% of those are money grabs, and you really need to be careful about those.
Right, right. So yeah, if you want to invest your money, you need to invest it wisely, so that way you don't go and waste more money and waste more time, because the time is not on your side in this business, the recruiting business. People think they have time. I think I put a post up in the group. When do you start the recruiting process? And I was surprised to see how many people said junior year when they were ready to get started. By that time, it's almost too late. You know, you need to start as a freshman. So, I mean, parents out there who are watching and you want to know where to get started, first thing you need to do is, if you want to be a do-it-yourselfer, is educate, right? Educate. We got the books. I have a book, Recruiting 101. It's on Amazon. We got the YouTube channels. We got several experts in the group right now, like Mr. Kelly right here. And there's several other people who are experts. Ask questions. Where do you start? You just start. That's all you can do, is just start. Because if you don't know the answers, you're not going to just get them overnight. And there's more than one way to do this thing. So it's all a case by case basis. So just because Johnny, he went to a camp and he got recruited, he might have been doing a whole bunch of other things on the back end, behind the scenes, to get recruited. And just because he went to that camp, he got recruited. So what I like to do is I like to try to build a relationship first before you spending money on the camp. I want to know, hey coach, what do you think about this player? Does he have a chance? And coaches are honest with me. They'll be like, I'm not even recruiting that position, so there's no need for him to come to the camp. And boom, we save money and time just on that. All right, boom, we're not going.
Right.
I don't know. So investment, that's the key word I keep using, because when you invest, you're expecting a return on your investment, right? So you invest something, you're getting something back. Whereas if you're worried about cost and you're spending money, then that money goes away, and you're kind of like throwing that money away and throwing time away when you're spending money. Like even with equipment, right? So with softball and baseball, they spend all this money on the bats and the certain types of different cleats,
clubs,
clubs, the tournaments, all that different stuff, and you don't really get nothing back from it except for the experience, like you said. So I just want people to understand investment. That's the key that I want people to take away. What's something you want people to take away?
Hey, and one thing I want to add on to that, you brought up a great point, and this needs to be heard by every parent and student athlete out there. Don't worry or think about what someone else is doing and their process, because everyone's recruitment process is different. Everyone will get seen at a different time. We'll start getting recruited at a different time. We'll go on campus visits at different times. So don't think that, oh man, these kids getting offered, how come I'm not getting offered? Or man, these kids they going on this, or why I'm not going on this. So that's one big mistake parents make. And the second big mistake parents make is they think that because, like, and I'll give you an example. Here's a football example. Say there's a cornerback that's going to University of Texas, right? And say your kid is a wide receiver, and say your kid has 6 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown against that kid that's a cornerback who's going to Texas. That don't mean that your kid is good enough to go to Texas and play wide receiver then. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people think that. Or like in basketball, if it's a point guard that's going to A&M and a kid scores 20 against this point guard that's going to A&M, they're like, oh, well, shoot, why I'm not going to A&M? Why am I not getting recruited by A&M? It don't work like that. And I think a lot of parents think that, oh, because I played well versus this person, they should be recruited. It's like, no, because that person may have different physical attributes. The team may have needed something different. They may have a different skill set that the school needed that your kid doesn't have. They may have a better attitude. They may have better grades. The coaches may have a relationship with their coaches, or it may be another kid on their team who they're trying to recruit as well. So they offer this kid. It's so many reasons why a kid is going to get recruited. So that's another reason why parents and student athletes do not pay attention to what is happening with other kids. Run your own race, because everyone's race, everyone's process, everyone's recruitment timeline is different.
And would you say if I go to JUCO for 2 years and then I get recruited to a big school and get a scholarship there, is that a win?
Absolutely, that's a win. Absolutely, that's a win. Because guess what? You're going to be a junior on full scholarship, just like the other juniors on full scholarship that was there for 2 years already. You know what I mean? So yes, that's absolutely a win.
What about if I walk on and I have to pay full price for 4 years and then never get a chance to even play?
That's not a win, because more than likely you could have went to another school where you would have had an opportunity to play. You know,
but I got the colors on though.
Well, I mean, and again, it's about your goals. You know what I mean? Some kids may want to be on the team. If you just want to be on the team, then walking on, go ahead and do that. Yeah. But most of the kids I know that I've worked with, that I've talked to, they're competitors. They want to compete. They want to get playing time. They want to win. So they should try to go to the school where they're going to have the best opportunity to play and not walk on, because walking on, the chance that you're going to play. And I know a lot of people always hear these success stories about, oh yeah, this kid walked on, he got a scholarship. That's 1 in 1,000. You know what I'm saying? That's not likely. It does happen, yes, but it's not likely that you're going to walk on and then get a scholarship. You know, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because walk-ons they got to pay full tuition just like everybody else, and still commit to those requirements of being at practice on time and taking the right classes. So they got it worse than anybody. Walk-on does.
Oh yeah, yeah. They got to work harder than everybody.
Work harder, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They're trying to take somebody's spot. You know what I mean? So they got to work hard, because if you're not a great student and you're a walk-on, they probably gonna get rid of you, because you can't be a walk-on and have a 2.0. You know what I'm saying? And if you're a walk-on, you gotta be working harder, because you gotta outplay the scholarship players. Because if you're a walk-on, you're probably 3rd or 4th string. You know what I mean? So you're just trying to work your way up the ladder. And a lot of times you got to realize, well, if you're a walk-on and you think, oh man, I'm gonna move up the ladder next year, because they bringing in a transfer and another freshman that's probably better than you, because they're giving them a scholarship too. So it's just a tough road to climb trying to be a walk-on.
Absolutely. Before we go, what is something you want to say to parents who have no idea what they're doing, right? They're just worried, right, that they're not going to be able to do it, and they need some help. They need some advice with the recruiting process. They have no idea what to do and know where to start. What's something you would say to them?
Well, I would say 3 things. I would say, number 1, get your child's Twitter account in order. All right, get the Twitter account in order and be active on Twitter. Don't just have a Twitter account. Tweet out something every week. You know what I mean? Have a presence on Twitter. So have a Twitter account. Secondly, get film. There's no way you're going to be able to get recruited without film. Now, obviously, some sports don't need film. You know what I mean? Yeah, if you're in track, if you're in swimming, if you're in golf, you don't need film. But football, basketball, soccer, volleyball, all those sports, you got to have film. And then also, you should always have a transcript, because coaches need to see your grades and they need to see your film to know if they can recruit you. And the better grades you get, the more opportunities you will have, and the more dollars you'll be able to get in the form of academic scholarship. So if I'm going to tell a parent and student athlete 3 things, I'm going to say, hey, get your Twitter account in order, make sure you got good film, and make sure you got a transcript and it's good grades on that transcript. Those are the 3 most important things I would say. And then finally, start reaching out to colleges. You can email colleges yourself. Every college coach, their email is on their website. So start emailing college coaches yourself. Don't wait for your high school or your club coach to do it for you. You can do it yourself.
Absolutely. Don't wait. If you wait, you're just going to keep on waiting. And that opportunity is going to pass you right by, because you're waiting on somebody else. Right. And sometimes those coaches, it's not that they don't want to help, is they don't even have time to help the high school coaches. Because your
Right,
high
right.
school coach is a teacher too. They got
Yep.
to do practice plans, the lesson plans, get homework for all different periods, and then they got their own families. And
Right,
high school coaches aren't getting paid a lot unless you're in Texas. But
right. Right. And even then, like, for example, if you're not the football coach, if you're
yeah,
like the basketball or another head coach, you're getting a stipend. You know
right,
what I'm saying? You're getting a
for the season.
stipend, but
Yeah,
yeah, per season, like $5,000, $7,000. And you
shit,
brought
I
up
got
a great
oh,
point. What you just said is that I think a lot of people put too much pressure. Now, I think high school coaches should help you with the recruiting process if they
mhm,
can. They absolutely should.
mhm,
However, I think a lot of parents put too much pressure on high school coaches because what you just said is absolutely true. A high school coach, outside of the football coach who doesn't teach, but a high school coach is first and foremost a teacher. That's their
mhm,
number one priority. Then,
yeah,
secondly, they coach, right? But then within the coaching, your number one priority is to try to win as many games as possible. You know what
mhm,
I mean? And then your second priority is probably trying to teach your kids all of the rules and strategies and trying to teach them stuff that life lessons through sports like accountability and discipline and all that stuff. So probably fourth or fifth on your priority list as a coach is recruiting. You know what I mean? And like
yeah,
I said, teaching is your number one priority. Then the secondary responsibility, and then like fourth on that list is recruiting. So a coach, a high school coach, when they think about recruiting, that's probably fifth or sixth on their priority list. So they don't have time to do that a lot of times. And I think a lot of parents put too much pressure on the high school coach saying, oh, the high school coach didn't get me recruited, or the high school coach didn't get me a scholarship. It's like, no, not the high school coach's fault, because there's not one high school coach in America that can offer a scholarship. Not one.
yeah. There you go.
Not one. So it's not the high school coach's fault or job to get you a scholarship. Should they help and be helpful in the process? Absolutely. But it's not their job. It's not their responsibility. Parents and student athletes can take the process into your own hands.
That's right, and that's what we're here to do. Is we're here to teach you guys and empower you, so that way you guys we can have some more success stories. We have several success stories, but the first thing you got to do is you got to get out your own way and stop listening to people who have no idea what they're talking about. You need to listen to people who have experience with this process. So that's what the group, the Facebook group. If you aren't in that Facebook group, go ahead and join it. College Recruiting Advice for Parents of High School Student Athletes. I mean, there's a ton of resources on YouTube. Follow Recruit University, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. There's so many different resources out there. Just make sure you follow those different things and stay tuned. Also, send us your questions. We're gonna try to do this again another time too, and start answering some of the questions on here. So that way, because there's other people who have the same exact question, let's go ahead and answer it and get it out there for you guys. And we want to hear those success stories as well. But that's all we got for tonight. Thank you, Todd, for getting on. Coach Cortez with Recruit University, guys. We got so much more material for y'all coming up. And we will see you guys soon. Thank you.
Someone please tell my mama I'm on. Mama, I'm on now. Tell my city stay strong. Yeah. And tell me that I'm gone.